So you need some help?
No, I mean,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we get approval of December 9th, 25 minutes?
I move we approve the minutes as read.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Does that include the executive minutes as well?
Sure. Does that include the inspection?
Yes. That was easy.
Here they come.
Hey, citizen comments? Okay, new business, 2024-2025 financial audit report.
Good time.
That's perfect.
Hello,
Hello.
I am Lori from Acuity, and this is Bryce, one of our senior audit staff. He's with me today because I am not on site for your audit anymore. So he will talk about the fieldwork portion of your audit. So we have good news tonight. From an audit standpoint, not as great news from a financial standpoint. That is not news to you. So I'll go over some of the financial stuff and then I'll let Bryce talk about how fieldwork went. So overall, we had one journal entry. It changed income by $166. So we don't really care about it. The reason we made it was reporting only, so the financial statements didn't have the accruals on them. The reason I bring that up with the board is it means that the reports that you're getting monthly to make decisions off of, to do budgeting off of, are accurate, and that's really important for you to know. So that would be the first point. We didn't have any findings this year, no audit findings, no minimum standards findings, so budget was good, public contracting was good, where your funds are held, all of that was great. And we had a lot of budget findings this year, so that is a moment to pause and congratulate your staff on doing a good job of staying in compliance with budget law. The governmental funds, so that's everything but your ambulance. Ended the year with 4.2 million in carryover. 1.1 million of that is what we call available, it's unassigned. The rest of it's restricted for various purposes. The general fund had a loss of about $60,000 for the year. And fund balance right now is sitting at about 18% of the prior year operating expenses. GFOA says they like to see about 15%, so you're right at that level for general fund. Ambulance fund ended the year with negative carryover of $76,000. Again, I know that's not news to you. Ambulance had over a $300,000 loss for the year. Charges for services that, what you can charge and collect is just not keeping up with expenses on the ambulance side. And I think, we see that across the board. It's very stark there where it's in its own fund. So if we include your capital assets and your debt payments and all of that, overall, there was a decrease of $851,000 for the entire district. And of that, $520,000 was ambulance. So when we added the depreciation, it doesn't get any better. Again, that is not news to you, but it unfortunately, that is the situation. So I will let Bryce talk a little bit about how fieldwork went and the audit side of it.
So I've been doing Lebanon's audit for about 5 years now, and this was by far the best year. When the first 2-3 years we audited you guys, there would be 4 of us on staff and it would take us multiple days. This year we had 3 of us and we were done by lunchtime in 1 day. And next year I think we'll probably just have 2 of us because we had one staff drive down from Portland. We're like, well, we feel like you wasted a drive because it was that smooth. So a reason why it's so smooth, well, 2 reasons. You switch to cash basis, so there's less work to do as far as accruals and all that. But also Des got us so much stuff in advance that we had half the file done before we even showed up on site.
Right.
So it went really, really well this year.
Do you as a board have any questions of us?
I do not. Any of the other boards have any questions?
No, so if you got half the staff, it means half the cost. Sorry, I just had to put that in there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any questions. I just thought it'd be good to state for the record what audits do and what audits don't, because I think the public has a lot of confusion on what audits accomplish. So if you could just briefly summarize it.
So you're required by the state to have a financial statement audit. And what that means is your staff presents to us the financial numbers at the end of June 30th, at the end of your fiscal year. And our job is to go through and verify that what the numbers that were presented to us are materially correct. So what materiality means is if you were, say, someone that was using the financial statements, usually the easiest example of that is a lender. So if you were going out and asking a bank for a loan and they used the financial statements to make a decision on them, would they care if something was wrong? So that $166 is a good example. No banker anywhere is going to care about $166, whether we made it or didn't make it. 166,000. Definitely. So that's the line we look at, which is a really big misconception. We don't look at everything. We look at what, verifying the actual numbers and doing the testing to make sure that the numbers that are presented to us are correct. You also have what's called a yellow book audit, which means we look a little deeper at controls. And we have to verify that if the financial office says that there's two people approving invoices and then a board member also approving them, however that works, that is actually what's happening. So we do go a step further than a regular audit and verify those controls. And then note to you if we see any issues with them. So when you don't have audit findings in a yellow book, that's an even bigger deal because it is a deeper look. So we do not look at every transaction, but we do verify the balance. So, yeah.
So this is not a performance audit, but it is only that it affects individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then one step further, Oregon does have a
Controls.
list of stuff that we have to look at.
Yeah.
Every year and verify that you're in compliance with budget law, with how you adopted your budget and did you stay within your appropriations, awarding public contracts. Sometimes we get annoyed with that because there's pieces and parts where I'm like, I am not an attorney. I don't know these parts, but we know enough to test, that what we need to look at. So, and then they have a various list, grant compliance, that sort of stuff, right? So.
I feel like the public has a large concern with fraud, waste, and efficiency.
Yeah.
And those are not really things that this addresses.
No, a financial statement audit does not do that. We are required to keep our eyes open for it. So what one of our sayings internally is if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's not a chicken. So we are always, we're supposed to keep our eyes and ears open. And if we do come across it, we note it. And there is no materiality level when it comes to fraud or non-compliance or waste. I've only ever once come even close to waste and it turned out I was a misunderstanding. So that's a very nebulous, but we do keep our eyes and ears open for all of them. We are not looking for them specifically now. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Slid in here right on time. Okay. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Number 3, board workshop.
All right, so, I would like to get a board workshop scheduled next month. I would love to say that it's something that we could do in a couple of hours, but I don't feel that that would be doing it justice. I think we had a lot of things to cover. Some of the items that I would like to encompass is, some deliverables from each one of the divisions. So the board has a better understanding of actually what the leadership team does and, what they have done and what they're going to do. And then, I believe that there's a lot of other broader subjects. One of the important ones, is to finish the SWOT training. The board is the last group to do with the SWOT analysis, training SWOT analysis, with, and that, opens up the door for our master and strategic plan, which is one of those drivers. And also what I hope to accomplish at the board workshop, with some input and direction from the board is, the future of the Lebanon Fire District and what it looks like. I believe that that's kind of an all-encompassing look. That's kind of what the master plan provides. But you know, that, a large part of that's board input, leadership input, and employee and volunteer input. So those are some of the items that I hope to accomplish at this, but it's definitely open for any other items that the board would like to see take place at this. But I know some of you guys' schedules are a little more open than others. It does not have to be on a Tuesday. But I'm open for some thoughts or ideas where we can get a day scheduled, if anybody has any thoughts. We can have Cindy or Des put out a doodle or something similar to see available dates, if that's how you guys would prefer to do it, where you all have an opportunity to set it home and look at calendars.
Yeah, why don't we do that this coming week?
Yeah.
Get some input from everybody and look at our calendars and get back to you, maybe by this time next week. Would that work?
Yeah, it would be better to
Yeah.
just say the days like I'm unavailable,
Yeah.
because I know you retired folks or.
We're busy with that.
I think along with that is if you think of ideas that you would like to be explored during this workshop, that if you keep those to desk, I think it would be good that we can put on the list of things. That helps me put together the format and the deliverables that we may need to bring
Sounds
to
good.
this workshop.
Last time we went through the bylaws.
That's, we were at, the WNBA building when we went through the bylaws last time.
Pretty recent.
Yeah, so one thing that, I had reached out to SDAO on that. And so there's an opportunity to have them come in and do a presentation that will check one of the boxes for some savings
Oh, perfect.
for us, so.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great move.
trying to kill multiple birds with a 3 or 4 handfuls of stones, so.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Does the workshop have to be in this sort of setting or the?
No, it will be, so by law, it is a board meeting, I guess, to a certain extent. There's various laws that fall in on that. But it will probably be a far more of an intimate setting with some of the things that we're going to work through. I know there's different rules for workshops and board meetings, but I do believe, Des, you could possibly correct me, that it does have to be as advertised, because.
It does have to be a public meeting and all of the same things like we do
Yeah.
for this meeting.
That it won't necessarily be the chairs and the table, it'll be
Yeah.
a round table, more intimate.
Yeah.
Setting where we can have, broader discussions,
That'll work.
so.
Any other questions on that?
I foresee a morning session with a lunch and then maybe more afternoon. To get through, I think, what we need to get through.
Nothing else on that. We'll go to reports, financial reports.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot tonight either. On our tax revenue side, we've received 91% of our tax revenue. Another payment should be hitting our account any day. I checked today, it wasn't quite there. But usually hits around the second week of the month. So I expect to see something there. Our ambulance billing receivables has not moved much. However, tactical, they have 1,315 unpaid claims and the accounts receivable balance from them is 1.5 million. So they are collecting and it's coming in, and we're seeing an 8% now increase over what we saw in previous years. So last month it was, 4 or 5%. This month it's closer to 8%. And as we go through the year, we'll see what that looks like. And I'll bring some, if you would like, I can bring some charts or whatever, so that you can see that differently if you like, but kind of what I brought before. But there's not much more. Oh, the website is doing fabulous. Ashley is doing an absolutely amazing job. She has fought with Square to get our fire med up and running. And when I say fight, she has been fighting. It's been awful. But she does have the Square up and running for FireMed. Payments can now be taken online, and the subscription is also ready as well. So people can start their payment online and have it renew automatically every year. It will email 1 or 2 times. I'm still working out the details with Ashley on how often, but at the very least, it will email them 30 days ahead to let them know if they want to cancel it, they can. Otherwise, it will charge their credit card on file until as soon as it is time to renew. So that is finally in place, which is super exciting. Now we're going to start looking a little bit more on getting the store set up. I've got a lot of accounting stuff on my end that I have to set up. And we have to get some tracking in place and how to ship things out if people buy stuff. We've got some work to do, some homework, but Cindy's going to be doing some of that. I'll be doing some of that. And then we've got some pictures, just the background. We'll start getting built on that too. I don't think it's ever going to bring us a great big revenue stream. However, it will get our name out there. People will start seeing us a little bit more, which is great. Financial statements are in good shape. I did a ton of journal entries last week to bring everything current. So now the line item tracking now is separating out conflag pay from overtime. So there are some entries with that actually pull those two pieces apart, and we will see that apart going forward. So next year we may decide to budget in that line item, and we may not. But right now, obviously, it shows as a loss because we have budgeted for that. So we've overspent, but we've also over-received in income on the conflag as well. But we are right where we should be on most things and in better shape on others. So I don't think there's anything to be concerned about in any way. And that's pretty much all I got. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so for the workshop, I would love to see kind of so far how we're doing on tactical, because I believe we initially projected something like bringing in an extra 500,000 from their advanced billing services, and I'd like to see how that panned out. I have a question on the shop. Is the shop going to be something where we hold inventory, or is it going to be more of a on-demand pass through the manufacturer?
Fair question. We have some inventory now, and I guess we'll see what happens once we make it available to people. I don't want to have a large inventory. We don't have the funding for that. So I think it's going to be, sometimes things will just get back ordered just because that's just the nature of what we can afford to do. So we're going to be looking at all of that to see where we're at, but we've already got some of the coins, the mugs, those pet stickers that can go in windows, the clings, we've got a couple of little things that we can start doing, but hard to say at this point. Now the pet clings, we've got a lot because you have to order a lot. So, that would be something we'd have quite a bit of inventory, but the more expensive things, probably not.
Perfect.
I think that we can speak to tactical that it has been a positive, but not the positive that we were expecting.
Okay. And then I just wanted to give a kudos that I said in the email to you and Deb. I'm really impressed with how good we're still keeping the purse string tight on materials and supplies. I can tell that we definitely have an eye on the budget. We're not spending what we don't need to. And I just think that should be recognized. You guys are doing a really good job.
Well, it is a team approach. Matter of fact, we met with staff last week at our staff meeting, and we actually sat down, went line by line through the budget and had budget discussions. So
it's good work. I appreciate it.
Anything else on that, guys? Okay, number 5, legislative update.
Pretty quick one. So balance billing temporary rules went into place. It is now in effect. We're still running under temporary rules. There's still a few questions out there to be answered, but for the most part, that's in place. Tomorrow, actually, there was a Senate Bill 454 that had to deal with rural fire district funding advisory. It's advisory to the governor. I actually got a seat on that, recommendation committee, action committee. So I'll be starting that tomorrow, so we'll go 2 days and then we'll plan out future days from there. Looking forward to that, to see how that goes. I'm optimistic with that. I think we'll be probably finding more questions and answers at that, but that's good. It's being talked about, so I think that's important. We're also trying to get Chief Fitzwater on an ambulance service area recommendation committee through OHA. He has not heard back. I did get reached out to from SDAO wanting to know if I would sit in on it for SDAO. And I threw my name in the hat, hoping one or the other of us or both of us would. I didn't necessarily really want to be sitting on another RAC committee. But I think that that's a very, very important one that we have some say in. Because it looks like or sounds like interfacility transfers are part of what's going to be looked at for the ambulance service areas. So I felt that we needed a say. So that is it for legislative update.
Any questions on that? Okay, number 6, union adjustment board.
All right, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. So a couple things have happened on our end. So we just recently had elections. We have 2 new trustees on our board. So, and then Michael Perkins was re-elected. So Kyle Kemper is our first new trustee. He got the election there. Then we appointed Jake Graff because Justin McCubbin stepped down in his position. Just did not want to go through negotiations. And then what other thing we've been up to as well. So if you follow us on social media, we donated 720 pounds of cat food. So we got to haul all that into our cabin the other day, filled up the back of my Atlas. But half of that was donated by the professional firefighters, and Tractor Supply actually matched all the donations. So that was a huge thing. So that's all we got.
Okay, volunteers adjustment board.
Yeah, update on volunteer program. Our operational volunteers, firefighters, they finished academy in December. And now I'm gearing up for another academy here this spring. So I have a recruitment event scheduled at the end of January. And then on the support side of our non-combat firefighters, I have 3 applications actually on my desk for our fire corps program. And so that's our support program where they do firefighter rehab and then they do emotional and practical support in the streets. And our other volunteer update is we have 7 members that are signed up to do the Seattle stair climb. And so you'll be seeing some fundraising for support. And it's now called Blood Cancer United. It's no longer LLS, Lymphoma Leukemia Society. They changed their name, but that event is in March 9th, daylight savings. And so that's what we'll be heading up to Seattle to do the stair climb. That's all I got.
Okay. Hey, fire chief report.
All right. You know, I promised that I wouldn't be as long-winded as the previous chief, but I do have a list here. So we're going to start off and talk about leaking roofs. Not leaking roof, leaking roofs. So we had a company come out, they done the peak and pry at Station 34. They did find moisture, mildew, rot. It was due to improper install. So where he sent us a lot of pictures and a summary of what his findings were. We're waiting for SDAO's I would like to put out there that, my intention is, unless advised otherwise from the board, is to send this to legal to go back on their, bonding, their insurance, the company that did it, to try for some recovery. The company that come out, believed that with some changes, that we could get a little bit of life out of the roof, but we're not gonna get anywhere near the guaranteed life. We're hoping we could squeak out 2, maybe 3 years life of the roof. So, that's where we're at with that. So I believe that it's worth spending some money, with our legal group to pursue, the bonding agent to try to recoup some of that replacement and repair from that company. And we're a little bit on timeline, so the bond is for, I wanna say 3 years after the install of the roof, and we're coming up on the 3rd year, so we need to start moving on it, to get some recovery.
That bond pay for the legal fees also,
What's that?
that bond, the legal fees also.
You know, I think that they probably do go after that.
I don't think that they'll pay for the legal fees.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I still think we need to go that route.
So you need an official, okay?
I do not need the okay from the board, but I do appreciate input from the board, so it's nothing that needs to be voted on. But if I had a consensus, I
Yeah,
would
we
appreciate it.
definitely need to go after it. You know, it's a lot of money it's gonna cost to repair that, so go after it.
Yeah, you see if we can squeeze some blood out of there, so.
Were there any damages beyond just the bad, roof? Like, were there subsequent damages to the structure?
So if we do not do some further adjustments to get some airflow through there, there could be.
Okay.
So that's kind of the next, we have somebody looking at that, it's gonna give us a quote on it and see what that it takes. We also, the architect group that designed this station, we had them look at it once before, initially, before it was roofed, because we had them kind of evaluate it for airflow. They're supposed to come and do a, walkthrough, kind of final walkthrough of the station here. And we're gonna try to capture them when they're down here and have them take another look and reevaluate, on that. The company that we had looked at it said that if the roof was properly installed, that the airflow should have been fine, and we shouldn't have had the issues that we do have. So it cooked the shingles, number one, so the shingles got kind of overbaked and then number two, we're trapping moisture in there, so. And there's, because of the install, there wasn't a proper amount of airflow. And that was part of why we redone the roof. We done it with, vent ridge, you know, venting and mid-slope venting and when it was done wrong, there wasn't any movement of air, so.
Well, any consequential damages, including mitigation efforts we have to do, that should be filed as a claim under their general liability as well.
Yeah. So, Oregon Government Law Group has a separate construction person that deals with this type of stuff. I've already kind of preloaded them with some preliminary information and just kind of put out a, hey, FYI, here's what we have. We were kind of waiting on these final reports to determine the direction that we were going to go with this. And I'll have more information. They may look at it and say the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. I think that it needs to be explored for sure.
Well, I also think that this is a good lesson for any future projects we may have. Is that, I'm sorry, but there's not an architectural firm out there that I trust. This is Oregon, it rains. Okay, you know, and if it doesn't have a 3 or 412 pitch on it and no seams, you're gonna have leaks. That's just the way it is. And I see all these people that are trying to do the, you know, the in thing, you know, I make it look pretty, you know, i.e. Tractor Supply, that's a flat roof in Oregon. How much rain did we have in December? 8.5 inches?
A lot.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
okay. Well, go ahead and put, in 69, we had 3 feet of snow. Put 8 inches of rain on top of 3 feet of snow and see what happens.
Yeah.
You don't have a roof anymore. You don't have a station anymore.
Yep.
You know, so in the future, well, let's take a look at these designs and let's make sure there's some common sense in these designs.
Are you listening, Russell? You notice I said roofs and not roof. So yesterday, we had some HVAC work done here, some maintenance. And it was brought to our attention that the roof on our apparatus bay was spongy. And upon further examination, we found some staining. And upon further examination, we went out and bought a moisture tester and found a high level of moisture where the staining was, as opposed to where the staining was not. So
You're talking 31.
Mhm.
31.
Right there.
The one area is along the seam. And where the antenna protrudes. Sounds like there's penetration there. The other area is actually up over the mezzanine. That's where we're able to get up with the moisture tester, just, you know, to kind of do a, hey, was this staining from construction or is this staining from penetration? And it was around 28%. I reached out to, Bill and Jordan, who was part of the lead on the construction company of this, and I said, I'm not a builder, but I says, I feel like that's a problem, and they said, yeah, it's definitely a problem. I mean, good, that's kind of bad news. Good news is, you know, we have a 5-year warranty on the installation, a 20-year warranty on the roof. Chief Nunes is reaching out to the company that done the install, and we're gonna get them out here as soon as possible. So.
And my comments go right along with that too, is when you put HVAC on a roof, guess what? You have vibration, especially if you're on a seam.
Yeah, well, this is the kind of the second part of this is we need to do some exploratory here because that's just on the apparatus bay where there is no equipment, so it's like, okay, we need to explore a little bit further here and make sure that there's not a larger problem. But I'm glad that the HVAC guy discovered it, and you know, I'm glad that we're catching it now and not when water's dripping on the floor and we're outside of our warranties, so. More leak repair. Station 34 had some siding with some flashing that was leaking into the walls. We were starting to get water into the walls. We had to do repair on that. That wasn't too bad of a price repair. Fortunately, they just had to replace a couple of sections and the flashing on it. But we did have to do some repair out there, so. The water system out at Station 34, so, the contractor's in talks with the, city, to make sure that that scheduling and everything's, in line for when they're doing the work on the city, and we can do that. And they also had to reach out to, Udell, for another question on that, but, I think we're still getting that at a pretty bargain price just because things are gonna be dug up and, city's working with us on that, so. CWDG grant update. I met with Christian Whitfield up at Sweet Home Fire last week, was it Candace? Yeah. They are in the process, the end of this month, hiring the grant manager, the person that's gonna oversee this, which is good because that's a pretty big deal for when you're dealing with millions of dollars, $8 million, $10 million. To have somebody oversee it. They got 26 applicants, and out of those, a lot of highly qualified applicants. So that should be in place. They also had to resubmit some budgetary items. So if you remember, we're kind of subbed under Sweet Home. Sweet Home is the grant holder. So when they submit all this, they had to submit the budget and their budget because it's passed through money. They had to resubmit some of their budgetary stuff to meet the requirements of the Forest Service. And that was right before the holidays. When I met with him last week, they hadn't heard back, but that wasn't too far removed from the holidays, and it is the federal government, so I wasn't not surprised there, but hopefully in the next month, they will have somebody in play. The final approval will go through on the changes that they had to make for their budgetary items. And we can start freeing up funds and get a hiring process in place for those personnel come this May. So that's kind of, we're trying to hit the hire date or start date around May of this year for the 4 personnel. Annexations. I'll kind of start it off, then I'm gonna hand it off to Candace. So we have had multiple annexations that have been kicked back. When they kick them back, they give a reason. It usually has to do with mapping. We're trying to get final clarification on exactly what they need for mapping. Some things doesn't make sense in my mind. I don't think it does in Candace's mind. I think some of it, and Candace probably could speak further to this because she met with some people on this. I think some of it is it's kind of like OSHA, right? The Treasury Department, who this is going through. I think there's different hands that are touching this, and you can have some OSHA inspectors that are very critical and finite, or maybe don't want to put in extra work, and you have others that are reasonable, have good expectations, willing to put in some work. And so there doesn't seem to be a rhyme to reason of why they're accepting some maps. Some maps are a hand-drawn map and they're accepting them. Some of them are straight out of the county mapping system, and they are not. I will say what Candace has told people who have applied and they're in the process, and I think it is the right thing to do, is that if we respond to your house, and you have put in the paperwork, but it's not got processed yet, or it's not got approved yet by the state, we are not going to bill you. That's not on you. You're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to do the right thing. That is on the state. And we will get them through. We're gonna get this ran down. Is there anything you want to add to that, Candace?
You know, I spoke with, Lynn County, I called the Lynn County Tax Assessor's Office and, spoke with a very helpful individual there that does a lot of their mapping. I think he somewhat could see this happening. He's, you know, he deals with the mappings and I think he told us the same thing that we may encounter the problem that they're gonna want these specific details on these maps. We're working on, he's very helpful. He's offered some suggestions on, you know, maybe, you know, getting some help or how to do it. And so, getting that contact and working with him a little bit more, spending a little bit more time to learn how to do it, or to find somebody that would know how to do it. Department of Revenue does give their input on what is missing from those maps. And so it is just figuring out how to get that input on those maps to do it, so. But otherwise, what John.
So, you know, the plan going forward is, Candace and Jason are gonna meet with Udell, and see if they can help spot or see what the missing information is and what the best source map is for getting all that correct information. And if that doesn't work, then I'm gonna try to set up a meeting at the State Treasury Department and have a very firm discussion with them. Cause some things that don't play in my mind is the way that bill reads is that, let's say Wyatt here is doing a remodel and he puts in for a building permitted. That automatically pulls that into this annexation process. So his property, his everything already lives in the county and ORMAP state mapping system. So I'm trying to determine if somebody doesn't like it because it's a little more difficult for them to read than it is, you know, that the actual proper information is there. Or, there's several different things that they'll accept. So they'll accept a tax lot if it's a city plot, new construction plot. And I don't see any of the information that how they're wanting them formatted on those, so that's perfectly acceptable. They'll say that they'll accept the PLSS map, which is, you know, range township, all of that, which is what the OR maps are, and the county maps are. But we've gotten some of those kicked back. But they won't accept a tax lot map.
Stupid.
So it's kind of all over the board, and so it may take us just going down to the state treasurer and sitting down with their head there and saying, what exactly is the most efficient, effective way to get this through? It should not cost the people that are wanting to come into our district, and it should not cost us as a district to have to hire a surveyor for maps that are, and information that's already there, so. So that's kind of our next steps.
I have a
That's
question
computer, That's it.
I have a question on Udell Services. How much are they charging? Because if I remember correctly, this was going to bring like 130,000 over a 5-year period or something like that.
We haven't.
We're just looking
Yeah.
for just a little bit of help and advisement. We're not looking to add them to do the work. That's,
Okay.
and that's what I'm getting at. It shouldn't cost the district money. And it shouldn't cost a person that's wanting to be annexed in money. You know, extra money. It's gonna cost them money that they weren't paying before if they're, you know, becoming part of the district. So I don't think that's the right thing to do, and I don't think that was the intent of the law.
This isn't, I've reached out to other agencies, they've had the same issues with the Department of Revenue. And they've actually had to go out and hire somebody to do what we need to have done if we're not able to do it ourselves. So it's a common thing among everybody trying to do this annexation.
It's, I think, become enough of a problem that it's
Yeah.
bubbled up that other departments out there have reached out to the organizing group yet again on this. So we have not spoke to the person that's been working on this there, but I'm a firm believer in let's try the simplest things first and the least expensive things first. It's not going to change any net income this year. The places that were already annexed are in the tax rolls. The ones that got submitted and kicked back, we wouldn't see until this next year. So we have some time to work on this process, getting them in the tax roll. Just kind of two more items, some kind of short, some kind of long. So, the first one is that just kind of a brief, first 2 months of the leadership team all being in new places and accomplishments and team transition and, the Russ and Des, I think you heard from the audit and Candace and Mark are to be commended, for the outstanding job and the speed of what they've been moving, some people have been learning brand new positions, some people are learning and stepping into brand new positions and transitioning people into their old positions. And we've accomplished a bunch in the last 2 months, so. And we continue to be moving forward at a very rapid rate, although months seem to be going by way too quickly. Preventions, accomplished milestone items. They've had to roll out some new software, switching over from NIFRS to NERIS, and that has been a big project. Candace working on the annexation project. Jason, today was, talking about, updating some of our items in software, our pre-plans. How many did you say you did, Jay?
75 in the last month.
75 in the last month. That's a big deal. And learning a new position. You kind of the same with Candace, working on this, and the NERIS and the annexation and helping Jay with his new position and stepping into hers. Operations went in and completed the SWOT analysis, with all the members. Me and Mark are continuing to meet with, the small groups, our bottom-up meetings that we've had with personnel. We still have some personnel to hit with that. Some of it's just trying to catch them in between calls. But Mark's been doing an outstanding job with that, along with, policy reviews and updates. He's jumped into that with both feet. And training has been nonstop with academies, volunteering full-time, working on new, training schedules. So I know Russell's been drinking from a fire hose, and I just think that they need to be kind of commended and appreciated, or I wanted them to hear the appreciation that I've had for the work that they've done. So, and then kind of lastly, just kind of an update on, what's been going on with, number one, this is the second, live stream that we've been doing. And the first live stream received 166 views, which has been the most, viewed board meeting that we've had, compared to the ones that we just done through Zoom. YouTube continues to grow. We're at 818 subscribers with 1,951 watch hours. So we only need about another 150 watched hours. It will be to full monetization. Videos continue to perform well. We're hoping to roll out our, helmet camera to capture some of that. Trying to get a bigger footprint, and a quicker footprint on our social media when we're out on fires. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job with that. And then kind of along with that really is trying to, from myself, get more information and more, items out to the public at large. Kind of with, one of them, like with the year-end message that I put out there that, really talked about our number of calls. So this was the second highest number of calls. The only year that was higher, was COVID, which was a phenomenal year. But, well over 7,000 calls, well over 5,000 calls, EMS calls. And our overlapping calls numbers are, at a ridiculous, level. So I just wanted to make sure that I just kind of touched on those things, but I also wanted to touch on that, the divisions here don't always get to hear what a great job that they're doing, and so I thought that it needed to be mentioned in this form. With that, in a report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Now we're gonna adjourn to executive session for as one may do 6602 to deliberations on labor negotiation. Yeah, we know all this stuff. Board of Directors for Lebanon Fire District will now adjourn to executive 926602, which allows the board to meet in executive session to conduct deliberations on labor negotiations. Executive session will be held in LFD conference room. Members of the audience excluded from attending executive session may remain in this room. At the end of the executive session, we will return to this room. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend executive session. Representative news media are typically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision will be made in the executive session.
Gotta get back in session.
Where's that?
Oh, that's right. Hey.
My laptop?
Your regular.
Put it back.
Oh, you're.
Yes,
The regular session. There's anything else we need to discuss on anything?
Not that I have.
Okay, we're done then. Perfect.